The day I left the Johnson family, Michael Johnson leaned in the doorway. Watching me pack, half smiling, he said, "What's wrong? You found out that having a child still couldn't force me to marry you. So now you think he's useless, and you don't plan to take him with you." I hadn't opened my mouth yet. Tim, who had been eavesdropping at the door for a long time, walked in. He carefully poured the money from his piggy bank into my hand. "Mom, you have to take good care of yourself. And, could you promise me something? Promise you'll never come back." Aunt Michelle said she'd only come be my mom if you left completely. After Tim finished saying those few sentences, his dark, glossy eyes blinked up at me, expectation almost spilling over. Michael lowered his voice, warning threaded through it. "Tim. Is that how school taught you to talk to your mother?" Tim dropped his head, lips pushing into a pout. "But last time Aunt Michelle asked Dad if he liked Mom, you said you didn't." "Then Tim doesn't like her that much either. If Mom wants to go, let her go." I no longer felt sad over words like these. A week ago was his 6th birthday. He insisted on celebrating with Michael and Michelle. It was as if, all at once, I stopped grasping and fearing loss. I had no thought of stopping him. Even that evening, when I passed the restaurant, and heard him tell the violinist that Michelle Perry was his mother, my heart was unruffled. Because I was packing, I was squatting. My line of sight happened to be level with little Tim's. I accepted his money and gave a small nod. "All right. I promise." I didn't call myself Mom again. I said quietly, "I won't come back to this house. And I won't be your mother anymore. Tim, you're free." He seemed not to have expected me to agree so easily. He stared at me for 2 seconds, then burst into a grin. "Yay! From now on Aunt Michelle is my mom." He ran out as he spoke, saying he'd call Michelle with the good news. I packed the last piece of clothing, closed the suitcase and stood up. Michael had been silent all along. But as I brushed past him, he caught my arm. His eyes were half-lidded, emotion unreadable. "Katie White, not liking doesn't mean hating. These years, I've gotten used to you. Why push this all the way? What tantrum are you throwing?" By the end, a faint impatience roughened his voice. I wanted to say something, then felt it would be superfluous and maudlin. So I simply pulled my arm back and reminded him, "Take good care of Tim." I hauled my suitcase out of the Johnson residence. It's a long walk to clear the Villa district. The weather wasn't good, a cold wind swept up fallen leaves and slapped them against me. It would be easy to make myself look miserable. But even so, I didn't look back. Not once. I had already rented an apartment, and I had already found work. Based on my former major, I applied to teach interest classes at a children's art center. On the first day of work, I walked into the office and saw several female teachers crouched around a little girl. "Angela, does your little uncle like desserts? And what kind of girls does he like? Oh, Angela, sweetheart, will he pick you up tonight?" The girl's face was blank. "Teachers, didn't you call me over to talk about problems with my drawing style?" The teachers exchanged embarrassed looks. "If there's no problem, I'll return to the classroom." The girl turned and saw me. She greeted me coolly, "Hello, teacher," and walked away without looking left or right. The teachers were very friendly to me, the newcomer. After introducing the workflow, they started chatting about the girl. "You didn't know, did you? That kid's little uncle is Logan Smith. He and Michael are tied as a city's richest, most eligible bachelors." "Oh, maybe not. Word is Michael's already back together with his first love, Michelle, now that she's returned. So that leaves only Logan Smith." Hearing Michael's name again, I remained as calm as if I didn't know him. "But Logan," I let out a silent sigh. "He's Michael's sworn enemy. He's always looked down on me. Every time we met, the mockery was inevitable. Pathetic. Michael and Michelle's kissing photo hit the hot search and you couldn't even squeak. What do you get by following Michael? A title, a station? Katie White, would it kill you to look around? I'd better stay away from the girl named Angela. If Logan found out I was here, he might use his connections to have the center fire me." Michael called while I was crammed onto the subway after work. "Hello?" The noise on my end kept him from speaking at once. After a few seconds, he asked, "Where are you?" "On the subway." He let out the faintest laugh. "On the subway? Katie, this is what you brought on yourself." I held the rail and only asked, "Do you need something?" Even through static, his footsteps came across unhurried and measured. Just like the man himself. I could even picture him walking from his desk to the floor-to-ceiling window. "Tim has a fever," he said. "Tell me your address. I'll pick you up and bring you back." "No need." I lowered my eyes. "The Johnsons will take good care of him. He doesn't need me." Michael's voice dipped. "You're really going to give him up? Katie." He sounded almost amused by the absurdity. "Just because he said he likes Michelle more." Michael has never understood my feelings for Tim. Even though I've explained countless times. Even after that accident, when I took emergency contraception, he still didn't believe me. Because I'd liked him for years. So he decided I'd gotten pregnant with Tim on purpose to force him into marriage. In his eyes, my feelings for Tim weren't deep. He was a tool, or a bargaining chip. So he couldn't know that, terrified Tim would like Michelle more and more. I had lived through countless nights of collapse and anxious clinging. The subway reached the hub station. The car emptied by half in an instant. No, Michael. I found a seat, the acid ache in my legs easing for the moment. Softly, I said, because he really does like Michelle more. And I don't want to force myself anymore, don't want to spend all my effort trying to win him over. Michael wanted to say more. The next second, Tim's voice came through the receiver and proved my words. Daddy. Tim's fever is gone. Can I go play with Aunt Michelle tomorrow? Michael's Adam's apple rolled. Katie, listen, I hung up. I got off at the next stop. I pushed that call out of my head. When Tim heard the word Mom, he paused. He didn't keep insisting on Michelle. Instead he tugged Michael's pant leg and asked, Daddy, was that Mom on the phone? Michael inclined his head. Oh, did you tell Mom I'm sick, so she'll come back to see me? Michael met those round, adorable eyes. In the end, he gave a quiet Tim had already guessed that Katie would worry and come home. Then Tim will put on a mask, so I don't make Mommy sick. I'll go see Aunt Michelle another time. A week without seeing her. He didn't seem so opposed to seeing Mom anymore. Michael pressed his lips tight. Mom is working late. I didn't ask her to come back. Tim still had a cooling patch on his forehead, he blinked at that. Then, going to see Aunt Michelle first is okay too. He felt no disappointment. After all, Mom would definitely come back to see him. Ever since he was little, when he got sick, Mom was the most anxious one. It was just a bit unexpected. Before, even if Mom was abroad, if she heard he was ill, she'd catch a red-eye home. After a week on the job, I'd basically settled in. Logan hadn't shown up once. To be safe, whenever parents came to pick up their kids at the entrance, I preferred to stay in the office grading drawings. Only once, when Angela was absent, I went with a colleague to see the students out. Usually, I tried my best to treat everyone the same. But she still sensed something different. That day, Angela was clearly downcast. In the hallway between classes, she propped her cheeks and stared out the window. A few boys, roughhousing, bumped into her by accident, and ran off without apologizing. I hurried over and crouched in front of her. How are you, Angela? Are you hurt? Let me see. She covered her knee and turned her head away. Don't trouble yourself. I'll ask another teacher for a band-aid. I froze for a second, then said gently, Teacher White has some too. I don't want yours. The round back of her head radiated stubbornness. I know you don't like me. You don't have to pretend to be nice. I was surprised. I don't dislike you. You're well-behaved, polite, and you have real talent in drawing. How could I not like you? Angela shot me a quick look. Then turned away again with a small hum. That day Teacher Park asked you to walk me after class. When you heard it was me, you didn't want to. And a few days ago, at lunch, I didn't want to sit with those teachers, so I brought my bowl to your side, and you finished in a flash and ran off. She seemed to recall that scene, puffed her cheeks in anger, and accused me, no one has ever disliked me that much. If you don't like me, I won't like you either. I was a little embarrassed. That noon in the cafeteria, I thought I'd slipped away without a ripple. Angela had set her bowl across from me. She didn't look at me, just muttered, they're too noisy. All they do is ask about my little uncle. I'd slid my tray aside to make space for her. But less than half a minute later, Angela's watch phone rang. It was Logan. Instinctively guilty, I shoveled down my rice and bolted. I had no way to explain, so I met her eyes and said, carefully, one word at a time, then I was wrong. From now on, I'll wait and eat with you, and I'll walk you after class. But I really don't dislike Angela. She turned half her face toward me. Her chubby profile looked a bit like Shinchan. Really? Princess Angela asked with imperious grace. Really, I promised. She held out both hands to me, face stern. Then hug. Angela's leg hurts. The scrape on her knee showed. I picked her up, took her to the office to disinfect and bandage, then went back to class and had the boys who'd bumped her apologize. Angela blinked at me and pressed out a tiny smile. A signal that she was willing to make peace. At lunch break, I pulled Angela's file again. My eyes froze on the date of birth. Today was her birthday. Chances were, her day-long gloom had a lot to do with that. I remembered the bunny on her pencil pouch, and the bunny charm on her backpack. Before dismissal, I hurriedly crocheted a mini floppy-eared bunny. I even gave it a dress like Angela's outfit today. She finished the in-class assignment 10 minutes earlier than the others. I called her out and handed her the toy. Happy birthday, Angela. She blinked for 2 seconds. Is this bunny me? I smiled with my eyes and nodded. As cute as you. Thank you, Teacher White. I like it very much. She accepted it with practiced poise, her expression barely changing. You're welcome. Back to class now. She took 2 steps, then turned back. Squat down. She crooked her finger at me. I did as told and crouched. What is it? Do you have something to tell me? The next second, the girl's soft lips pressed to my cheek. This is the first present I got today. And it's my favorite. She nestled against me, eyes bright and impossible to hide. Teacher White, do you think my little uncle is handsome? I can give you his phone number, think of it as a thank you for the bunny. The warmth blooming at the tip of my heart flash froze. No need. When I learned Logan wouldn't be picking her up tonight, I agreed to walk Angela out after class. But at the entrance, seeing the man leaning against a Maybach, I felt thunderstruck. Little uncle, why are you picking me up today? His gaze slid slowly off my face. He slanted a look at Angela. Taking you out for your birthday, gremlin. Yay! She bounced with glee. I forced myself to speak. Hello, Angela's guardian, What a surprise. He cut me off with a smiling drawl. Michael even shortchanges his own woman, lets her go out to work. To prevent a future misunderstanding if he mentioned me to Michael, I explained first, I've left the Johnson family. My job has nothing to do with Mr. Johnson. Logan's eyes narrowed, sharpening. Because of Michelle? Did they bully you? I had no wish to tell Logan any of that, so I acted as if I hadn't heard. Mr. Smith, if there's nothing concerning Angela, I'll head back to the office. Angela lifted her little hand and waved, puzzled. Goodbye, teacher. I waved back. Bye-bye. I turned to go, yet I couldn't shake the feeling of a steady gaze on my back. 20 minutes later, work was over. I stepped out of the center, the Maybach was still at the door. The window lowered. Logan rested a hand on the wheel, turned his head slightly, and said coolly, the kid insisted you had to celebrate her birthday with her. I looked toward the back seat at Angela. She let out a little tilted her head, and asked, Little uncle, didn't you say? Logan clicked his tongue softly, cutting her off. No parking here. Get in first. We'll talk after. Afraid the car would get ticketed because of my hesitation, I hurried in. Only when I saw the faint curve at Logan's mouth in the rearview mirror did I realize. The car had been parked here a long while already. If they were going to ticket him, they would have. I'd meant to find a moment to ask Logan to drop me at any random corner. But Angela slipped her arm through mine and nuzzled close. This year it's not just me and little uncle for my birthday. The words stuck in my throat and wouldn't come out. Through the whole meal, Angela smiled with her brows arched like crescents. The exact opposite of her mood that morning. Maybe she used up all her excitement. On the way home, she fell asleep against me. The man glanced at me in the rearview mirror. In a low voice, he said, her parents work overseas long-term. They aren't close to her and won't waste time coming back. They even forgot today's her birthday. For once, Logan reigned in that lazy, flippant air. Katie, thank you for the gift and for spending her birthday with her. The girl slept deeply, letting out the tiniest snores. I lifted a hand and brushed her cheek. Softly, I said, I like Angela. Playing with her makes me happy too. The car ran steady. In the latter half, it was quiet enough inside to hear the tires roll over the road. I stared blankly at the neon streaking past the windows. Life felt suddenly theatrical. I'd poured 6 years of love into Tim, and he wouldn't even want me at a single birthday. And this little girl I'd known for just a month, held tight the gift I'd made and said it was her favorite. The speed eased. My thoughts returned. Logan pulled up under my building. I set Angela down gently, said goodbye, and got out. Logan got out too and called after me. Katie. I looked back. Is there something else? His dark eyes were so deep they reflected nothing at all. Don't like Michael anymore. He's not good to you. I stood there, stunned, hadn't expected him to say that. By the time I gathered myself, the car was already pulling away, only the taillights left. A beat late, it dawned on me, Logan didn't dislike me that much anymore. After that, it was almost always Logan who came for school pickup. When the other teachers noticed, they scrambled to take over escorting the students. I stayed in the office to grade drawings. One day after work, that familiar Maybach appeared at the door again. I glanced in through the window. Angela wasn't inside. Logan must have dropped her home and come back. He got out and slammed the door, pressed his lips into a line, and stared at me in a brooding hush. You hate me that much? You don't even want to see me? Maybe it was my imagination, but the nearly 6'2" man in front of me looked aggrieved. I drew out a slow, These days you won't come out because I'm the one picking Angela up, right? I shook my head and explained the whole situation. The pickup duty just hasn't been assigned to me these days. Logan snorted. As if to say, who'd believe that? But he quickly schooled his face and said, cold as ever, I waited for you all this time and haven't eaten. I'm starving. I blinked at him, bewildered. Why were you waiting for me? None of your business. He bristled. I felt like it. His righteous tone tangled my thoughts until I actually wondered if I was in the wrong. Hesitantly, I asked, then, why don't I buy you dinner? Logan pivoted smoothly and opened the passenger door for me. Get in. The reservation is in half an hour. If we go now, it's perfect. Me? The car stopped at the restaurant entrance. I was reaching for the door handle when Tim came into view. On either side of him were Michael and Michelle. Tim was talking to a girl his age. She asked, Tim, is this your mom? Wow, she looks like a celebrity, so pretty. Tim's lips trembled, as if he didn't know what to say. The girl tilted her head again, puzzled. But I remember, one time the person who picked you up looked like a frumpy auntie. So which one is your mom? So this was why Tim had never wanted me to pick him up after school. Back at the Johnsons', I didn't go out much. I cared even less about clothes. I lived in loungewear, plain and simple. Once, when the driver was off, I went to pick him up. He'd sulked at me for a long time afterward. At the girl's words, Tim suddenly grabbed Michelle's hand. Of course she's my mom. That other one was, our housekeeper auntie. By the end, his voice had shrunk to a whisper. Michelle accepted the title without comment, crouched, and smiled a hello to the girl. A faint line drew between Michael's brows, as if he wanted to say something, but he kept his silence. A soft laugh sounded by my ear. Logan narrowed his eyes. Katie, you raised a little ingrate. I'd expected as much, but seeing it with my own eyes, I still couldn't be as calm as I'd hoped. I drew my gaze back and asked him quietly, shall we go somewhere else to eat? Sure. But wait. Logan unbuckled and got out. By the time he reached them, the little girl had left. What a coincidence, President Johnson. Out for dinner with your girlfriend and son. Michael's face was cool. None of young Master Smith's concern. Logan stood loose-limbed, unfazed. No need to be so tense, President Johnson. I only wanted to congratulate you and Miss Perry, seems your happy day is close. He smiled. Oh, right. I hear Katie's finally, fully separated from you lot. Good for her. Not only are you and your son freed, so is she. She's only 27. Still young. She'll marry someone better suited to her, maybe have an even cuter kid. Odds are she'll be happier than she ever was with you. At my name, Tim tilted his face up to look at him. Michael lifted his chin slightly, eyes assessing. Logan, what exactly are you trying to say? The air went taut. Logan didn't seem to notice. Looking down from his height at Tim, he said, Hey, brat. Don't think you're the only one who doesn't want your mom. She doesn't want you either. Remember, she will never love you again. With a crooked, mocking tug at his lips, Logan turned and headed back to the car. Through the glass, I saw Tim's fingers spring open from Michelle's hand. His face went blank, half understanding, half lost. In the end, Logan and I ate the tiny wontons downstairs from my place. I held my spoon and said, thank you for today. Don't waste breath. Do something real. Images of gold and diamonds and sports cars and mansions, things I couldn't afford, flashed through my head. I asked, unsure, what do you want? He tipped his chin at my bowl. I'm not full. Draw me a few of your wontons. Easy to please. I drew him 3 plump little wontons and said generously, if that's not enough, you can order another bowl. It's enough. The glass door kept opening and closing as customers came and went, letting in shreds of the spring night's chill, softened to a gentler cool by the warmth of clattering bowls and steam. By the end of winter break, I'd somehow shared several meals with Logan. Sometimes Angela joined us, too. The night before Angela's first day back, Logan called me. School just notified me there's a parent meeting tomorrow. But I'm at an out-of-town branch handling something urgent. I can't get away. Could you go in my place? Angela's elementary school was the same one Tim attended. I hesitated. From the receiver came the faint sound of his assistant urging him to start a meeting. I drew a breath and agreed. It couldn't be that coincidental, same class as Tim, right? Before bed, I suddenly recalled that talk at the restaurant door, the one between Tim and that little girl. I opened my closet and ran my fingers over the clothes. They stopped on a cool-toned white coat. I put away the bulky puffer I'd planned to wear. The meeting was set for late afternoon, right before dismissal. At noon I slipped into long-forgotten stilettos and went to a salon for hair and makeup. 2 hours later, I reached the school gate. 15 minutes to spare. I called Angela. I'm here. Which class are you in? Teacher, I'll come get you. Wait for me. A few students were waiting outside, probably for their parents. My gaze slid to the corner, and I saw Tim. He saw me, too. He ran over, little brows knotted. Mom, what are you doing here? I told Dad, Aunt Michelle is coming to my parent meeting. I already told my classmates my mom's a dancer. Aunt Michelle's the only one who can dance. He flicked both hands out in a frustrated shooing motion. Please go, Mom. Don't let my classmates see you. Teacher White. Angela waved to me from not far away. I lifted my head. Coming. Tim looked from Angela to me, and confusion furrowed his face. Mom, you. I'm here for her parent meeting, I said. He froze. I thought about it and decided there wasn't anything more to explain. I went around him in silence and headed for Angela. Angela, which class? Class 1. My smile wobbled. Same class as Tim. Which meant I would still have to see Michelle. Before going in, Angela and I rehearsed our story. I would call myself her aunt. I was early, only a few parents were in the room. A cluster of kids swarmed over. Wow, Angela. Your aunt is so pretty. She even smells like grape juice. I let out a quiet breath. At least I wasn't dragging Angela down. She didn't look particularly pleased. She actually sighed and muttered, Ugh, Teacher White, you're this pretty. My little uncle really doesn't deserve you. No, this seemed like a misunderstanding. I was about to explain when, in the corner of my eye, I saw Tim come in alone. He looked at me in silence, then dropped his head and went back to his seat. The boy folded his chubby hands on the desk and lay sideways on his arm. That was his sign for feeling low. The meeting started. The homeroom teacher stood on the podium and asked Tim, are your guardians here? He stood up, small body steeped in loneliness. He glanced back at me on reflex. Just then, Angela leaned against me to show me last term's grades. My attention veered, and I praised her softly. Angela, you're the best at everything. When I looked up again, Tim had turned back. He kept his head down and didn't answer, pale fingers picking at the edge of the desk. The teacher sighed. I'll call your guardians. Neither Michael nor Michelle ever showed. Start to finish, Tim kept his head bent over his notebook, drawing, as if sealed off from everything. When the meeting ended, I walked Angela toward the gate after she packed up. On the way, Logan called. I'm at the gate. If you're free, little Teacher White, let me buy you dinner as thanks for helping out. Did you finish that company issue? I asked. He gave a lazy got off the highway and came straight here. There was a not-so-hidden fatigue in his smile. Angela spotted him and sprinted over to hug his leg. Little uncle. He looked at me and startled for a beat. He cleared his throat, voice mild. Not bad. I stared at the red flush in his ears and stepped closer. Logan shifted, uncomfortable. What are you doing? Your ears are really red, and your face a little. I studied him. Are you sick from overwork? If you're not well, we can skip dinner tonight. Logan stared at me for 2 seconds. The red faded from his ears at a speed you could see. With a flat tone, he judged me, Katie, blockhead. You talk too much. Get in. I was just about to climb in, when a familiar voice, shaky with tears, sounded behind me. Dad. Has Mom really stopped wanting Tim? I turned. Michael stood in the cold wind, looking at me without expression. Beside him, Tim's eyes were rimmed red. Michael's gaze swept over the three of us, and he nodded. She's off to be someone else's stepmother. Katie, impressive. Angela wagged a finger. Not my stepmom. But maybe my little aunt. I looked back at Logan, baffled. He lounged against the car, smile irreverent. Wasn't me who said it. Why are you looking at me? Mom. Tim called to me timidly. The lightness that had just sprung up in the air vanished. He looked at me with pleading eyes. Tim is sick. My throat hurts. Tears clung to his long lashes, unbearably softening. I said gently, Daddy will take good care of you. After a pause, I added, and Aunt Michelle. But I want Mom too. He let go of Michael's hand and scampered to me, clinging to one of my fingers to please me. When I didn't pull away, he reached out as if to hug me. Mom, feel Tim's forehead. I didn't yield. I stepped back, opening the distance. His arms hung frozen in midair. Tim, the day I left, we made a promise. From now on, I'm not your mother anymore. Logan watched him with idle interest and chuckled. Brat. That day you said your mom was the housekeeper. She heard you. The boy's face blanched. At the school gate, people thronged in a clamor of laughter. Most parents were celebrating promotions, or mapping out their children's futures. Only Tim and I stood there, pitifully, with nothing left to say. When I got home that night, Michael called me. Are you with Logan now? If I didn't clear up the misunderstanding, it could cause trouble for Logan too. No. I said, but it's none of your business. After a long pause, he said, Michelle and I were never together. She'd just come back to the country and only wanted my contacts and resources. That trending kiss photo was an angle trick. We didn't kiss. I'd been with Michael for almost 6 years. As Tim grew, things between Michael and me slowly thawed. He'd once driven 500 kilometers through a storm just to be back for my birthday. He'd even let people at the company call me Mrs. But after Michelle returned, they started seeing each other more and more. Between him and me, suspicion, quarrels, and Cold War cycled on repeat. The day his kiss with Michelle hit the hot search, I asked him for an explanation. Michael only hooked his lips and asked in return, "What are we that I owe you an explanation? You're overstepping." So after that, no matter how far he and Michelle went, I never asked again. Now, hearing him suddenly clarify, I felt only confusion. I said, "Whatever you and Michelle have going on, it has nothing to do with me. There's no need to tell me." He must have heard there was no pique in my tone. His voice went rough. "Katie, come back. Let's get married." He sounded like he was laughing at himself. "I've been in love with you for a long time. I just refused to admit it." 2 scenes of too late regret in a single day. I wasn't sure whether to sigh that Michael and Tim were alike in this way. I couldn't even summon surprise. With a headache, I tapped my temple. "Michael, why don't you first ask whether I still like you, whether I'm willing to marry you?" He went still. I told him plainly, "Whether it's you, or Tim. I don't love either of you anymore." No sooner had I finished than I heard a rustle over the line. Michael's tone sounded a little tense. "Tim, how long have you been at the door?" I guess Tim must have overheard that call. I didn't see him for several days. Just when I thought our paths wouldn't cross again, Michael brought Tim to enroll in art classes at the center. The director slid Tim's drawing to me, visibly impressed. "Exceptional talent. Katie, teach him well. We could enter him in a competition by year's end." I looked at his drawing and said nothing. I'd once asked Tim if he liked drawing. He'd said it was boring, not as interesting as Michelle's dancing. "Aunt Michelle can lift her legs so high. Can you, Mom?" I'd said no, embarrassed, and disappointed him. He'd shaken his head and left. "Mom, do you think Dad won't marry you because you're not good enough for him?" The director handed Tim back to me and asked me to take him to class. In the hallway, he tugged lightly at my hem. I turned and met his anxious little smile. "Dad says I'm good at drawing because I take after Mom." I corrected him. "Tim, you can't call me Mom." The smile slowly faded, his fingers worried at the seam of his pants. "If Tim behaves and studies drawing hard, and won't bother Mom during class, can I still not call you Mom?" His voice was soft and trembling. "Then will I not have a mom anymore?" His eyes were bright red, but as if afraid I'd be annoyed, he held in the tears. I paused, crouched, and explained patiently, "No, that means during class you can't call me Mom. Like the other kids, you should call me teacher." He sniffed and nodded hard. Tim will remember. Tim truly was gifted. In class, his in-class assignments often made me pause at his desk and look a second time. But maybe because I could never treat him exactly like any other student, without noticing, I almost never praised him out loud. One class, a boy tossed his brush into the water bucket and shot up his hand. "Teacher, look, look. I'm done." I corrected a small issue and praised him. "Big improvement, Eric. I bet you'll score even higher next time." He lifted his chest and answered with conviction. Angela and the others raised their hands one after another. I walked and critiqued, offering a little emotional sunshine as I went, until I reached Tim. He held his brush and tipped his face up to me. I'm done too." I nodded. Meeting the anticipation he couldn't hide, I said warmly, "This is very good. You're improving fast, Tim. You really have talent." Fine sparks lit in his eyes. Teacher. I'll work even harder." Shadows ringed his eyes. And the tender skin of his hands had chafed raw. I hesitated, then said gently, "Drawing is a step-by-step process. Don't rush." He blinked his round eyes. "It's okay. I like drawing." He bent back over his work. I watched him quietly. It all felt out of joint. If the Tim of now had loved the me of before, I wouldn't have had so many nights of collapse and pain, wouldn't have felt jealous of Michelle because he loved her. And if the me of now faced the cold Tim of before, I wouldn't have become this complicated and conflicted. Every week when Michael picked Tim up, he would talk with me for a long time, always about Tim's drawing. I couldn't avoid answering. Logan, however, grew more and more aggrieved. One evening, using Angela's 93 on a math quiz as an excuse, he took us to a new restaurant. Logan stabbed his steak with a knife, face dark as water. "The Johnson stock will tank tomorrow. The Johnson stock will tank tomorrow." The steak was unrecognizable. I mourned it for a second and asked carefully, "May I ask why you dislike Michael so much?" Angela kept a straight face and sighed like a little old soul. "Because little uncle likes you, Teacher White." The air froze. My thoughts short-circuited. Logan flung down his knife. "What nonsense are you spouting, gremlin?" I watched color race up his neck into his ears. Maybe it was embarrassment. I stammered to smooth things over, it's okay. I can pretend I didn't hear. To my despair, I realized I was nervous too. My first instinct was to flee. I stood. I'm done eating. I'll head home. I hurried out. Logan ran after me and blocked my way. Katie, you can't pretend you didn't hear. His ears grew redder and redder, and the night wind made the noise of the city seem even clearer. It's true. I like you. I liked you even when you were with Michael. Emotion edged his voice. Even though you were a lovesick fool and drove me mad, I still, somehow, liked you. I didn't know what to say, frozen stiff. Staring at his shoulder, I mumbled, thank you for liking me. I never imagined it. I always thought you hated me. Logan folded his arms as if this were routine. That tracks. You're slow to catch on. When I told you to look at someone else, you told me, okay, in all seriousness. I thought you got it. He dug up the old account and snorted. That night I waited for your call, even ordered the flowers for the next day. In the end, nothing. I remembered that. After saying I should look at someone else, he'd fiddled with his tie and lifted his chin, like a handsome rooster. So he meant I should look at him. Hard to decipher, why not just say it outright? Logan cleared his throat, pulling me out of the memory. Resigned, he said, even though I already know the answer. I'll ask anyway. Katie, will you date me? My thoughts still hadn't righted themselves. I refused on reflex. Sorry. I'm not planning to date, right now. He answered blandly, oh. No big deal. Don't worry about it. Come on, I'll take you home. I was a little surprised at how lightly he took it. At home, I was still quietly admiring his decisiveness, able to pick up and let go. Then my phone chimed. A voice message from Angela, Teacher White, little uncle seems to be having a fit. He bought a mountain of onions and shut himself in the kitchen chopping. His eyes are all red. He's clearly crying, but says it's the onions. Men are so two-faced. Angela, I felt, was more mature than he was. At the same time, a text from Logan popped up. Do you really not like me at all? Okay, even if you don't. Could you start trying to look at me now? I want to fight for this a bit more. Flops over. Every line dripped with a man's awkward, childish pride. Scenes about Logan resurfaced in my mind. Like the time Michael left me at a club. Logan, who knows why, was passing by, scowled, gave me a lift, and took me home. There were many things like that. By now I'd recovered from that brain crash. My feelings were slowly coming into focus. I held my phone and typed slowly. It's not that I don't like you at all. I took a deep breath and hit send. He replied instantly. Was your account hacked? Whatever little glimmer there had been evaporated. This idiot Logan, more like a husky than a person. His call came right after. I picked up. Did you mean it? He spoke fast. I hummed in a low voice. Katie, could you say it out loud? He stretched the last word, almost coaxing. Over the phone, it was easier than face-to-face. Curled on the sofa, hugging a pillow, I hid the lower half of my face and whispered into the receiver, I actually, maybe like you a little. A little bit. After a few seconds of silence, Logan said, I'm done for. I won't sleep tonight. I want to come see you. Can I come? No, I said, very firmly. Logan, oh. After that, Logan strutted daily like a peacock, blindingly handsome. When I left the center, he'd hand me a bouquet of lisianthus. And chat idly, notice how the Johnson pest hasn't come to bother you lately. I hugged the flowers and tilted my head at him. What did you do? His brows lifted slightly. Reminded his mother it's time he got married. Right now Michael should be. He did the math and said, being forced into his 11th blind date. Very Logan. Since that night, he hadn't brought up dating again, nor pressed me for an answer. He simply let his warmth seep into my days, eager, but never pushy, as if to say, it's okay. Take your time. I'll wait for you to walk out of the last shadow. But don't forget, I like you every single day. Tim didn't stay long in the art class. He left because he and Angela fought. Tim suddenly tore Angela's drawing, and when she tried to save it, he bit her arm. She cried into my arms, her arm trembling with pain. I pressed my lips together. Tim, come apologize. I had never spoken to him so sternly. He stared at me, dazed, and tears welled in his eyes too. Mom, Tim didn't do anything wrong. She's a thief, she stole Mom's picture. That's why I tore it. The day's assignment theme was my mom. Sniffling, Angela explained she'd forgotten what her mom looked like. I was the person closest to a mother around her, so like Tim, she had drawn me. Tim's hand balled into a fist at his side, stubborn. Then she can't draw it either. Only I can draw it. He still believed he was right. Angela's wound needed quick care, so I didn't argue right and wrong. I picked her up and headed for the infirmary. Maybe my leaving had left a shadow on Tim's heart. When he saw me go, he panicked. He trotted after me, crying in broken gasps. Mom, I'm sorry. Don't be mad, don't go, okay? He followed me all the way to the infirmary. With tear tracks on his face, he apologized to Angela, then clumsily rolled up his sleeve and held out his arm. Why, you can bite me back. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have torn your drawing. I won't do it again. I'm sorry, Angela. I sighed and led him to an empty classroom. He burst into loud sobs and stopped talking. He only called for me over and over, helplessly. I patted his back and waited for him to calm down. Sensing something, he slowly quieted. His little hand gripped my index finger. Softly, Tim being here, it feels like I'm bothering Mom. I wiped his tears and said only, Tim, this really isn't the right place for you to study drawing. As teacher and student, and as mother and son, we were never going to be cleanly separate. The more we stayed, the more tangled it would get. He nodded, still hiccuping, but his tone was steady. Tim understands. Then, if I miss Mom in the future, can I come see you? He waved his hands quickly, adding, I won't come often. Maybe once a month, no, once every 6 months. His eyes trembled, as if afraid he was asking too much. In the end, I nodded. Okay. He smiled, but with lingering sorrow. Then, last thing, Tim wants one more hug. I gathered him into my arms. He lay on my shoulder and spoke in a soft whisper, as if afraid to disturb the dream. I hope Mom's future child will be good and obedient. Most importantly, that they'll love Mom very, very much. Spring overflows with life. Partings in this season double the pain of withdrawal. That day, Michael, after a long absence, came to pick up Tim. He sent the driver to take Tim to the car before he spoke. There's a serious crisis at the overseas branch. Hard to solve. I'm taking Tim abroad to immigrate. We won't be back for several years. His lashes dropped, hiding all expression. Katie. I'm sorry for these years. I've transferred all my domestic properties, about 20-something of them, into your name. The lawyers will contact you in a few days for the paperwork. Think of it as compensation. Don't refuse. I'm not that materialistic. But money at your back is never bad. After Michael left, Logan became even more of a catch. Every day, waiting for me at the center, he'd be asked for his contact info. One very ordinary day, I got off a bit early. Angela had 20 minutes left of class. Logan, as usual, parked at the entrance, head down, grim-faced, thumbs flying over his phone. Anyone who didn't know would think he was handling major business. Meanwhile, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. I unlocked it and opened the message tray. The first was a news link: Johnson Group crisis worsens, bankruptcy possible. Then, not slander, just facts. People who lack ability end up like this. Image. Oops, slipped, sent that by accident. This is my personal ranking on the national wealth list. Up 3 spots from last year. I think I deserve some praise. For no reason at all, I suddenly decided to date him. I didn't even think it through. I walked up, he was still busily texting me. I tapped the half-lowered window. Excuse me, would you like to date me? Without looking up, he rejected me on reflex. Sorry, I'm in a... He cut off mid-sentence. Logan's head snapped up, a little stifled, his lips pressed thin. Katie, don't joke about that. I'm not joking. I looked at him seriously and asked again, slowly, excuse me, would you like to date me? He searched my eyes. After a long moment, he finally believed me. He pushed open the door, stepped out, and folded me into his arms. Good thing I waited. He added in a low voice, waited for the day you could actually see me. When Angela came out, he couldn't wait to show off. From now on, Teacher White is your little aunt. Angela gave me a look of solemn admiration. Teacher White, you are truly a philanthropist. Logan. He sneered. Gremlin, asking for a spanking? Angela shrank toward the corner. Little uncle, you have so many flaws. Teacher White being with you is charity. Logan gritted his teeth and said he was going to find a spot to fix her. Angela threatened that if he dared to pick her up, she'd introduce me to their PE teacher. I propped my chin in my hand and watched them bicker with a smile. At some point, I turned to the window. Green, surging life rode the hot wind and flooded the senses. I realized, suddenly, that the bitter, far-off winter had long since passed.